Hi everyone, I'm Peter Trego and welcome again to the Clubhouse. I hope you're really enjoying the world's best sportsman coming onto the show, chewing the fat with me in this very bizarre isolation time. I hope you're all safe, well at home. And like I said, if you're enjoying the show, make a comment and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Today, an excellent day, as they all are at the moment, whenever a guest comes on. But today, a particular favourite of mine. I was actually in the stands at the MCG on the Boxing Day test when this man single-handedly decimated the Australians. It was a beautiful day. Welcome into the Clubhouse, Chris Tremlett. How are you, my friend?
Hey, good, Pete. Thanks for having me. And yeah, what a day that was. Yeah, remember it well. And I think I remember you coming to come to train with us actually. Quite a bit in Melbourne at the time. So. Yeah, I didn't realise you were actually there on the Boxing Day as well. But yeah, what a time that was.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be wrong if we don't just reflect on that straight away. Really, I mean, I was over there with my family. I had my young sons with me in the crowd, and my vivid memory of that game was by about tea time, all the Australians that I was like from the club that I was playing. KC South Melbourne all started leaving. They could not handle the abuse that they were getting from all the POM fans, as they were calling us. What a day. What did you get? You got 4 for next to nothing that particular day. Was that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly the best day of cricket I've ever played in. County-wise, England-wise, whatever. It was just kind of the perfect day of cricket, really. We won the toss on a green wicket. It was about 13 degrees in Australia, which, we just come from Perth, which was close to 40 degrees every day. So that was a hot slog. And then we turn up in Melbourne, 13 degrees, green wicket. Fancied our chances, got a couple of early poles, and we just kept running with it. Obviously, so I kind of ran with them single-handedly, but, Jimmy Anderson and Tim Bresnan also had a lot to do with that. And the guys, they caught every catch. And we just bowled really well as a unit. And as you say, we then went out to bat sometime after lunch. So there were a few kind of rain delays at the start, which actually helped me because, you came in for half an hour and got fresh and went again. And then we went out to bat and the sun came out, and I think Cookie and Strauss batted all day. And as you say, like, all the Australians slowly started to leave the ground. And by the end of the day, halfway through tea, there was probably only about 30,000 people in the ground. At the start of the day, there was 95,000. So we'd won the test match in a session, really. A couple of sessions. And, after day one, playing in the biggest occasion of my life, I went home back to the hotel that night, feeling very relaxed and proud of myself and proud of the team, kind of knowing that we've got this game already. So it was a pretty special feeling.
Well, I was certainly one of the 30,000. Well, the three of us were 3 of the 30,000 left in the stand that day. That was absolutely class. I think I just about managed to get the kids on the last train back to where I was staying. It was what a day, to be fair. So you would say that's the day of your long career that you've had?
Yeah, I think so. Like, looking back, and it's weird now, sat here kind of nearly 5 years into retirement. I don't really think about kind of cricket too much, but I've got a few nice kind of bits of kit or memorabilia around my house which bring back fond memories. And I don't actually have Sky Sports at the moment, but when those things do pop up and you go, oh my God, that was such a cool day, and that was such a fun kind of thing to be a part of. It's pretty special. So, and obviously it's always spoken about by people, or it pops up on my Twitter feed now and then, or BT Sport old clips or whatever, Sky Sports clips. So it's hard to forget, but it was just a very special day. And to bowl Australia out for under 100 on a Boxing Day test, I'm sure it's going to be something that's always going to be remembered quite fondly by a lot of English fans.
Well, it was certainly, dare I say, it was a deserved achievement for someone of your caliber, really, because obviously, as an opponent, obviously coming up against a fit Chris Tremlett was never the nicest prospect for a county slogger somewhere down the order. All of a sudden, the ball whizzing around your head, and like I said, you're 6 for 8, so the ball's coming down from Joel Garner-esque heights. Certainly not easy, but throughout your career, obviously, being a bit of a stat badger, obviously your statistics on your whole career are phenomenal as a bowler in particular. Obviously handy with a bat, you got the levers to whack it out the park, but obviously all of your bowling averages are incredible, and obviously something that you should be very proud of. But obviously you mentioned there, when we talk socially, obviously you're a big lad, obviously injuries and various other things like that. Is it hard not to look back at a career that spanned 15, 20 years, but are there frustrations in there that the body didn't stand up to the fast bowling as much as it could have?
Yeah, I think looking back now, not so much. Looking back now, I think I did well to play for 16 years. Knowing all the kind of injuries I had, the operations I had, I think I had eight or nine surgeries in those 16 years. So pretty much every other winter, I was rehabbing, going to Australia or in England, kind of rehabbing from another operation and having to start again. So certainly at the time, having MRI scans and being sat in the hospital a lot, it certainly played on my mind, but I guess I found a way to deal with it, and I found a way to kind of cope with injury. And it certainly was frustrating getting very close to playing for England a lot of the time, or getting into squads and then having an injury and then having to go home and someone else would take my place, and having to watch Tim Bresnan and Graham Onions bowl in the Ashes in 2009, for example. That was frustrating, knowing how much work I got to kind of nearly get there. But it also, at the same time, it motivated me to go, I know I'm good enough to get there. I just have to work hard and try my best to get back there. So I think, answering your question, along the way, it was frustrating because it was always one injury after the next. And there were some games I knew I wasn't nowhere near fully fit, but I would do it because, I was trying to do it for my team or the coach or captain. But at the same time, like we've just spoken about in Australia, like those small moments of when I was 100% fit, bowling my best on those big occasions. I would have liked to have been involved in more of those big occasions, but sat here now, 5 years, nearly retired, I feel very lucky and grateful to have those opportunities. So I'm not frustrated now, but certainly at the time it was like, when am I going to get a bit of luck, or will my body, just hold up a little bit? But it's part and parcel of, I think, being a bit of a giant. I was always, like I said, a big lad. And my body just didn't really like fast bowling, if I'm honest. That was something I was very good at, but it just seemed to get injured every time I did it. And being retired now, I haven't really had any injuries at all. So there is obviously a correlation between me being a fast bowler and what I did as a career. But saying that, I absolutely loved it, and it was worth the kind of heartache and pain, or whatever you want to call it, going through it. It was something I got on with, and I did it. And it's again, just frustrating at the time, but now I sit here and go, I like to say, like you do, like I trained hard and I gave myself the best chance to do well and perform, and sometimes my body just let me down, or circumstance let me down, and that's just life. You can't really do too much about that.
Yeah, well, when you put it actually into perspective there, you mentioned you had 8 surgeries, 16-year career. It was actually a massive credit to your sort of mental resolve to, continue to come back. I mean, I've had a couple of injuries along the way, and, even the few that I've had, you write yourself off, and, it does take you that sort of mental switch to go, no, actually, I'm going to go again. I'm going to go again. But obviously to do it 8 times, that's a hell of an achievement with himself. And, I suppose in many ways, sort of the latter end of your career where you're most successful with England in particular, obviously you were always touted as being a future England bowler, but, your sort of strength and physical strength came later in your career. Obviously your peak times, 27, 28, would that be fair to say?
Yeah. I think I probably got my quickest when I was probably 23 to 26, something like that. But I was on the England kind of, I played a few test matches in that time. Probably didn't bowl as quick as I could have done. And I remember my first series playing against India. I remember having niggles in that series, but I was one of those bowlers. I didn't bowl quick all the time. On my day I could bowl quick, and other days I'd be bowling at 8-2, 8-3, but just putting the ball in the right area and using my height. So. But yeah, I think that season when I moved to Surrey, my body felt good. I played pretty much a whole season, which was very rare for me. I don't think I only probably played 2 or 3 full seasons where I didn't really have any problems at all. Throughout my whole career, there was always a gap where I had something. But yeah, that kind of 28, like you said, was I felt like my peak. I felt strong. I felt fit. I felt like I could bowl all day and back it up the next day, and just maintain a quick enough pace and just knew where I was putting the ball. Whereas I guess when I was 22, 23, I could bowl at that pace, but I was a little bit raw and I didn't quite have the nous and some of the simplicities and tactics that I learned to kind of learn to do more through the back end of my career. So yeah, I say I always had the talent and the pace. I think it just came all together when I made that move to Surrey, and I actually realised how hungry I was, and that move kind of forced me to really try and get back in the England side. Lucky enough, I was lucky enough that tour came around at the right time. I was selected at the right time, and I guess it gave me the chance to kind of show the world a little bit what I could do, because leading up to that, I'd shown snippets of what I could do and my potential, but I hadn't really shown people what I could do. So having the opportunity in Australia to be fully fit, and I didn't start in the test series. I came in on the 3rd test, but it was nice for me to come in and show people what I could do. And unfortunately for me, again, about 6 months, 8 months down the line, I got another serious injury, and I never really kind of came back from that. I was still playing county cricket, but my body just let me down, which was frustrating at the time. But it's just one of those things.
Well, 16 years hard work, and I must say that one day in Melbourne, I'd give my 20 years for that, for a day like that. To be fair, what a day that was!
Like I said, it was all worth it for those moments that you remember, and they pop up on the TV, and it was all worth it, all for that, definitely.
Was that the tour? Was there a bit of sprinkler action on that tour? Was that particular winter where the sprinkler came?
I mean, am I right in thinking that was a tour where you came in, you bowled at us, didn't you? You bowled with us in Melbourne. Was that the same?
Yeah.
Tour? Was that after? Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing now, because I know, for instance, when the Aussies toured last time, I know that any left arm fast bowler in county cricket used to have to go and net with the England bowlers, England batters, to obviously get used to people like Stark and Mitchell Johnson. So it always makes me scratch my head that in 2010, who were they worried about that they wanted a little floaty away swinger coming into the net?
Yeah. I think in 2013, when we went back there, they brought Tyrell Mills over to Perth, and I think he nearly broke up.
Love that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I do remember you, being in the nets at the MCG and bowling at us. So it's good times.
Yeah, I got my one test wicket that day. Actually, I think I got Monty Panesar LBW first ball.
Big scout.
It was a proud moment. Now, moving on from cricket, because obviously we stay in touch a fair bit now, because luckily I'm still managing to carry on playing, but we have a mutual interest in the world of fitness. Obviously, your nickname Twiggy, one of your nicknames Twiggy, I can always picture back in the early 2000s, 6'8", very lean young man tearing in, trying to rip my head off. And now I look on your Instagram and see a picture of you moving into your new house with your wife and little one, and you're filling the doorway. I mean, the way that you've trained since your career. I mean, A, how did you get into it? And B, I mean, what are your vital statistics now? Because you are an absolute man mountain these days.
Yeah, I mean, like you. I mean, you're still playing. I mean, I think you're a little bit older than me. But like as you know, a lot of cricketers that don't actually enjoy training. It's something that they hate doing. But there's a few in a dressing room or in a team that do enjoy it, or they absolutely love it. And you certainly be one of those guys that I followed you throughout my parts of my career, and I've seen stuff on your Instagram. I was a bit later Instagram, but you started doing your fitness stuff on Instagram, and you've always had that kind of passion for training alongside your career. I don't think you've ever seen it as a chore. It's something you've enjoyed doing to go alongside your cricket, try and improve on yourself along with your skills. And that's why you're still playing now, because you looked after yourself. So yeah, I think when I was 20, 21, I got picked on the England Academy, and when you started, cricket started very differently. There was a big drinking culture when I started. Fitness wasn't really a thing, and went over to Adelaide with Rob Marsh, and yeah, we got absolutely beasted for a couple of years, and really kind of, for me, learned what being fit was all about, and what I felt was that's what you needed to be a cricketer. So I think since that moment, I always took pride in trying to train and giving myself the best chance. And every time I did my training and gym stuff, and there was some parts of my training during my cricket, I did a bit extra, which I didn't always have to do. But I just enjoyed it. I always enjoyed picking up weights along with the cricket side of training. Wanted to try and look half decent in my kit. But yeah, it's just something I enjoyed. But when I retired, I guess there's just a bit of freedom. I've kind of trained the same way for 15 years. My nickname was, one of my nicknames was Twiggy. I always had to be I was quite big for a bowler, but I always had to kind of keep to a certain kind of size, and you're having your body fat done every 2 weeks, so you're feeling like you can't eat too much, and you're always kind of trying to feel like you need to stay lean. And it was just a strict kind of process, day in, day out, for pretty much my whole career. Certainly back end of my career, when all the fitness coaches came in and psychologists, and your whole game is kind of monitored, and your physical, everything physical is monitored all the time. So I felt like there was always a pressure to kind of stay fit and do the right thing, but I actually enjoyed doing it. And then when I retired, there was like a bit of a freedom there to train how I want to train, and can I get my body into a kind of shape that I've always kind of wanted to be in, and that is to just kind of get a little bit bigger. So I guess when I finished and started training outside of cricket, I just kind of got in the gym and started pumping a few weights, and thought, can I put on a bit of size? And I think in the first year I put on about 10 kilos, something like that, which was quite a lot. And then it's been 5 years now, and I guess each year it's been kind of going up. And I had a massive kind of bulk phase last year where I put on nearly 20 kilos, and I was a bit tubby, but doing any type of didn't do that for about 3 years. I didn't really do any cardio. It was all just about weight training and strength training, and just piling in a load of food, ridiculous amount of food at times. But it was just doing something different and enjoying it, and just learning about a new side of training, following bodybuilders on Instagram, following strongmen on Instagram. We have a mutual friend in Marcus, who's a kind of amateur strongman. Just training with people like that, just training in a completely different way, out of my comfort zone, and just trying to just discover a new type of training, or how can I build my body in a different way, how can I get stronger in a different way, and just kind of playing around with it, really. And at the moment, I'm just kind of got to a size which I'm, I guess, happy with, and a more balanced type of training. And I've more recently, since lockdown, or just before lockdown, got back more into my kind of a bit more cardio based training along with my weights. That is, my passion is definitely lifting weights and still trying to get stronger and look big, whatever. But since having a boy, and trying to making sure I feel fit and bending down and picking up all the time, it's important that I feel fitter again, because last year I think I was 21.5 stone, and I looked big or whatever, and I was strong, but it was hard work walking up the stairs. So, and then a few months ago, I was like, I need to just lose a bit of, try and trim up again, see if the kind of strength where, muscles built underneath that bit of lard, and see what's under there, really. So I'm a bit trimmer now, a bit leaner, but feeling good, feeling a lot stronger than I was when I played cricket. But obviously it's a different type of training that I do, and running into bowl now I'm 125 kilos. Running into bowl now would be hard work, because I was probably about 105 kilos when I was at my kind of peak, playing wise. So I just train in a different way, but it's ultimately just something I wake up every day, and I just like I think you do, I just enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always feared that I wasn't giving myself the best chance. But then, even with the coaches who should be sort of pro train and be healthy, be fit, we're always looking at me almost like you got a guy in your squad who's willing to train hard, but then they were criticising him, are you training too much? So you can't ever bloody win sometimes. You got to do what feels right for you. And like I said, being an all-rounder as well, I thought it was absolutely vital to have a good engine and all that sort of stuff. But it's funny you should mention that about your weight and stuff and the way you feel now, because I'm imagining you feel pretty good about yourself from a day-to-day basis. But I was actually going to ask that question. Do you think that there are things that you could have done in terms of, if the shackles are off, a bit of extra weight, that extra muscle, do you think that would have helped or hindered your cricket game?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I played around with during my career. I mean, I've probably my weight ranged from probably 100 kilos to 110 kilos throughout my career. So 110 was probably the heaviest I ever was when I played as a professional. I actually felt like I bowled quicker when I was a little bit heavier, but I found it harder to run in all day at that weight because you're carrying much more body weight. So I could probably bowl a little bit quicker when I was a little bit stronger, but naturally it was harder, and I think I probably got more injuries. And then when I was 100 kilos, I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel confident running in. So kind of in between, really, 105, 106 kilos in terms of a rough kind of weight, fighting weight, if you want to call it. That's what I felt kind of comfortable if I was around that weight, lean, and knowing that I put in the training, because you can be a certain weight but know you haven't put in the training. That's when I would feel good about myself, around that kind of weight. But yeah, being 125 kilos, like you said, I can smash the rower out, I can smash the bike out, but running when you're 125 kilos, it's hard work. For me to run 10 minutes is hard work. Just because simply, I'm a fit bloke, but just carrying that weight is hard work. Even at 110 kilos, even 100 kilos, it's still, I wasn't great on the bleep test compared to someone who's 75, 80 kilos, because every time you turn, you're carrying extra weight, and along with the height that I've got.
Then you have to pull a horn every time you
yeah, so I just wasn't really built for running, even when I was smaller. But yeah, it does. It's just, yeah, when you obviously, the heavier you get, the harder it gets. And I can still bowl fairly quick now off a couple of paces, but it is off 4 or 5 paces, and it's pretty much just using all my shoulder and just winging it down there. But yeah, it's, people go, "Oh, you're massive now. You can bowl 90 miles an hour and kill people," and it's like, no, that's not going to happen, because
I just think maybe if the dates were a little bit different and you started your career now, I just think towards the back end of your career, like Tamal Mills has done, obviously just being pretty much 2020 over only. I could just imagine you bulking up just for that raw power, raw pace, and you got to bowl 2 lots of 4 overs a week. I mean, do you think that would have been something you would have liked to have considered in a slightly younger age?
No, I think my mindset would have been different, because, like you, I grew up wanting to play 4-day cricket and Test cricket. So I was naturally drained into, you need an engine. You need to be able to bowl all day. You need to be able to bowl at least 20 overs, or bowl 20 overs when needed. So I would always get myself in shape to be able to play the long game. And I know deep down that was my priority, was to play 4-day cricket and Test cricket. And it was also the county's priority. Whoever I played for, Hampshire, Surrey, that was kind of the main. They wanted me fit for 4-day cricket, and also they wanted me to play 2020 1-day cricket, but that was always the priority. But as you say, like growing up now, it's a different, cricket is so different. You've got so many options and tournaments you can play in the 2020 form. I probably would have gone down that route, because I had so many injuries and it was so frustrating. And financially, in this kind of day and age, I probably would have been quite well suited for that. I would have, get in the shape I want for 2020 cricket. To bowl 4 overs compared to 20 overs is relatively easily. 2020 cricket, the intensity of it is hard, but physically to bowl 4 overs is not going to take as much out of you. It is, day in, day out county cricket as what I generally did throughout my career. So yeah, that's probably, like, sat here now, that's probably the the way I probably would go, just because the nature of all the injuries I had. But like I said, me and you, we grew up at the start in a different era. You're still playing, so you've kind of been exposed to the new kind of era of cricket. But as an oldie now who's retired a little bit, it's great to see that guys have so much kind of choice and opportunity, and guys like Tyrone Mills, who 15 years ago he probably wouldn't have had a shot of playing any cricket really, because he couldn't stay on the park, and County would have given him the flick. But he got picked up in the IPO, and he's pretty much a millionaire now from a couple of opportunities. And like I said, he's a bigger, powerful bloke, so naturally he's going to pick up injuries. But he's still on his day. He's a kind of a 2020s dream, isn't it? No one wants to face a guy that can bowl that quick. So yeah, as a fast bowler, you've got more options these days, certainly.
It was never my favourite trip down to Brighton for a bit of Jofra Archer and Tamal Mills down the hill. It wasn't always my my most favourite.
I missed Jofra, luckily. Yeah, I missed Jofra, luckily. But yeah, they had a decent attack, don't they, down there, Mills and Archer. That's definitely one you.
Yeah, Chris Jordan as well. What an attack they've got. But 5 years out of the game, do you keep an eye on what's going about? Do you visit the Rose Bowl or the Oval to have a little watch from time to time? Are you still invested in the game?
Not massively, to be honest. I do keep up on the international stuff. I write a column for a paper called City AM up here in London. So yeah, I keep an eye on the international stuff. Watch the highlights. Everyone's different. I absolutely love playing the game, but I'm not one that can sit there and watch it. I don't like going to watch cricket all day, every day. I've got other interests, and I've got a different kind of. I'm working property now, so that's kind of my focus, along with my training and having a young boy now. Sitting there watching cricket all day isn't something that really interests me, to be honest. And following county cricket, it's good to see the guys still playing that I played with, and what have I seen? I recognise those names, but some of the new guys coming into the squads now, I wouldn't know who they are, just because I don't follow it day in, day out, and I don't really pop in. I pop into the Oval maybe once or twice a year, and I pop in and see my dad once or twice a year down at the Aegeus Bowl, because he still works down there. So yeah, not really, not massively, but like I said, I love watching the England stuff still and the highlights. And if there's a 2020 game on TV, I will watch that. I will watch some of that. I think that's great. And still see you smacking it around the park, which is good to see. That if I'm going to watch cricket, it would generally be a day at the test with my mates, or watching 2020 on TV, which is weird because I grew up wanting to play Test cricket. And like I said, just going to watch a day at Lords or whatever is different, but I won't sit and watch it on the TV. But I will sit and watch a bit of 2020. That is good value to watch.
You could do that in between a bit of your training. I bet you're recognised when you do pop into the Oval and watch a game.
Now and then, yeah. I think I am, and I'm not, because some people think they see how big I am now and they can't believe it's me. So it's a bit like, is that Tremlett or not? Or sometimes I've been called Liam Plunkett a few times when I've gone to the Oval. So.
I'm not sure if that's a compliment for you or not, because he's probably half your size, I'd have thought, even though he is a big boy himself.
He's got a bigger beard than me, so.
Well, like I said, I mean, it's been a hell of a journey. It's been I won't say it's been a pleasure playing against you, because I used to hate the tall fast bowlers, in fairness, but certainly thanks to from my side of things for that one particular day at the MCG. Just to finish off here, Trem, obviously we'll continue to talk and challenge ourselves with all these fitness challenges we're sending each other. If you out there, Clubhouse viewers, follow Chris Tremlett's Instagram. Some of the stuff he does is unbelievable. Even if it's just to see the picture of him moving into his house, filling the doorway, you got to follow him. Shane Warne came up with the line in an interview: you don't actually have to be best mates to be a good team, do you? I mean, it was certainly, what's been said about that squad, some of the relationships were a bit fractured at times.
No, I think most of the time, you know, that obviously I wasn't there all the time, so I was kind of in and out of the squad. But I think most of the time, generally, guys got on, and obviously, like I said, they had a respect for each other on the pitch, and you know, they had KP in the side. They knew that KP was going to win the games. But yeah, there were the odd occasions where, you know, KP would do something and it would wind some of the other guys up, or some of the other guys would do something that might wind KP up. At the end of the day, KP was just, if he saw something, he would say it, and it might, he'd say what everyone else at the time was probably thinking, but he'd have the balls to say it, and some people didn't like that, and sometimes that would cause a bit of friction, along with some of the things that he did. You know, I think, you know, when we went to Melbourne in 2011 for our warm-up game, he hired a yellow Lamborghini for the week, and even that just wound people up, because it was in the press and it took kind of attention away from the team. And it was always about KP. You know, if you read the back pages, there'll always be something in the paper about KP, and I think that wound up some of the guys, that it took the focus away from the cricket. And you know, even Andy Flower, to a degree, it wound him up, because they just wanted the focus to be out the cricket. They didn't want there to be a media story about KP. But that's just what came with KP. It was just that was the kind of beauty about him. There was always something controversial, but yeah, I said I had a good relationship with him. You know, he just said it how it is. He was actually quite good for me, because, you know, if I was being a bit lazy, or like I could have been just doing something a bit better, he'd go, come on, step it up, or whatever. But you know, some people just they clashed, and some people, in any dressing room, they clash. And in 2011, it was fine. He was scoring runs. He was doing well. He was just doing his thing, and people just let him get on with it. And I think it was more probably 2013 when we lost 5-0 again, and a few guys were kind of coming to the end of their career and struggling a little bit. That's when things did start to kind of hit the fan a little bit, and KP kind of, I guess, came away from that tour a little bit of a scapegoat, and which I thought was quite unfair, really, because there was plenty of guys on that tour to kind of blame why we lost 5-0, and why the team and management kind of thing were falling apart. It wasn't just KP. There was other kind of things to it, and that's it's a long story. But you know, KP at the end of the day is KP. He's always going to be a bit controversial, and he's a bit like Marmite. You're going to love him or hate him, but at the end of the day, people love to watch him bat. He scored a lot of runs for England. He won a lot of games for England. If he wasn't in the side when I was playing, we wouldn't have won as many games. So, and you know, for me, I've experienced playing with one of the kind of modern greats, really. So, so it is what it is.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was an amazing time for English cricket. Very watchable on and off the field. And talking about rubbing people up the wrong way, 6 weeks in my own house. My own family are rubbing me up the wrong way. So it does happen, doesn't it, when you're on tour? These things do happen. But Trem, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I reckon when we compile the best 11s played for, yours is going to take some beating. So thanks for that, mate. And thank you very much for your time this evening. I hope the isolation period's over soon and you get back to doing wonderful things in the world of property, and keep up the training, and we'll stay in touch.
Cool. Thanks for having me, mate. And yeah, I'm sure we'll chat soon on Instagram about another rowing workout or another bench press challenge or something.
Can't wait, pal. Good on you, mate. See you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that little chat with Chris Tremlett. Absolutely terrified the life out of me whenever he used to rock up to a county cricket match, 6'9", bowling the speed of light. And like I said, that day at the MCG even, in 2010 was absolutely unbelievable. Top man. Follow his Instagram, but more importantly, subscribe to our channel. Follow our Instagram at the Clubhouse.